I don't see a world where she doesn't. At this point, it would be really weird if she didn't. I guess the cop-out could be, she's the special guest referee, but I feel like that would just make it worse.
I think it's around time for Gunther to officially get yeeted, and I think he will get yeeted.
You don't turn him heel to lose. You're going to turn him heel to get number 17, have that death grip.
The Black Mass is, to me, a top 5 finisher ever in that regard. It's fantastic. It's just, you're done.
Pretty much the same exact story, except much better. Like, much
Way
better. Like, it's like comparing Rocky 1 to Rocky 5.
Everybody has to sign on and sign off with a yeet going forward, or else you cannot do a podcast with you.
There's Tyler's punishment here.
All right, welcome to Left Turns, Right Hooks, episode 13. I'm continuing the theme of WrestleMania picks again this week. If you missed last week, go check it out. I'll link it below. But we dove deep into the triple threat from a few different angles. The triple threat of Roman, Seth, and Punk. A lot of different angles with Chris and Tyler and Joe from last week. So chime in with your takes. And after you listen to this podcast, we want more of your takes. Today is going to be a little more rapid fire. I've got 4 big main event scene questions that are all WrestleMania related, as well as a couple other questions centered around some newcomers to WWE. But with that, I need to welcome in both Tyler and Chris. Thanks again, gents, for joining me. Welcome back. Glad we could keep the series going, and you all could make it again this week. So hope you guys got your picks ready. Looking forward to this. I'm excited to weigh in with you guys here too a little bit more this week on all our picks. But yeah, so welcome. And are we showing off the wrestling shirts we have this week?
Of course.
Okay, Austin 316.
Oh, yeah, baby.
There we go. So, battle of the behemoths, and shout out to Stone Cold. So good representation from all 3 of them. I'm sure we will get at WrestleMania this week. Or this year, not this week. Still a couple more weeks, but we're almost there. I'm excited. But first, I wanted to bring up 2 SmackDown topics. Some stuff worth mentioning. We have a couple newcomers. Well, one's really not a newcomer. He's an old I don't know how we want to phrase that, but a new old comer. It'll be great to have Allister. Wow. Let me check my spelling over here. Allister Black. He's coming back, and Rey Fenix will be debuting. I believe actually this week, probably the day this podcast will be coming out as we record. So Rey Fenix, we'll start with him. He's coming to SmackDown. I want to know what you guys anticipate with his debut. I am not a big follower of his. I haven't really watched a lot of his wrestling. So I'd love, some thoughts from you guys. And Chris, I will toss it to you here first. What are you anticipating with Rey Fenix debut here?
Well, thanks for having me again. So when it comes to Rey Fenix, I also did not have too much prior knowledge when it came to him. Once I saw the announcement happen, I knew him on name value for sure, but when he kind of got announced is when I started kind of getting more into it, and I've been seeing how he is, and I'm excited for it. I mean, there's a new fresh face in here, Brother Penta. With him getting separated here, I think it adds an interesting little thing going on for him where he's not tied to his brother, at least right now, so we get to see where he shines solo on the main roster here. So I think he will obviously deliver on some insane matches, but when it comes to how he's going to be booked, I'm curious. I am excited to see what he does before I'd imagine an inevitable tag team with his brother.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the exposure I have to both of them. I think it's kind of neat that they're being separated on both brands. Give both a chance to shine. But yeah, I hope that is inevitable that they get put into a tag team at some point. Tyler, what's your take on Rey? I know we've talked about him briefly when we talked about Penta, so I know you're glad to finally see him out of AEW.
Yeah, so I was one of the people that was yelling like an old lady whose, teenagers were running on their lawn for a month yelling free Rey Fenix and all that stuff. So I was one of those people, and you can agree with that take or not. That's fine. I completely understand. Either way, he was paid 6 figures to sit at home and do nothing. There could be a lot worse existence. I 100% understand. But at the same time, the guy's 34 years old. He's one of the best athletes in the entire world, and you're just not allowing him to leave. So that was kind of my take on it. But regardless, that's all over with. And Rey Fenix, as you said, finally will be making his debut on Friday night as we speak. Obviously, we were recording this a couple days before, so we have not seen it yet. But to give some perspective onto Rey Fenix that you guys may not be aware of, a couple of years ago, Chris Jericho went on Inside the Ropes. It's a wrestling sort of question and answer forum type show, podcast thing. I don't really know what you call it, YouTube channel, whatever. Where they interview wrestlers, sometimes in person, sometimes via Zoom, just depends. Chris Jericho was talking about something completely separate from Rey Fenix or whatever. And he was talking about a completely different wrestler. And he said, now this guy back in the day was like your Ricochets, your Ospreys, your Phoenixes, one of the best athletes in the world. So Chris Jericho, you could say whatever you want about Chris Jericho, what he's doing in AEW right now. You can't deny the man knows more about wrestling than 99.999% of human beings walking the earth. And he says Rey Fenix is one of the best athletes in the world. If that doesn't tell you all you need to know, I don't know what does. The difference between Phoenix and Penta is, in my opinion, Penta has all of the charisma and all of the kind of aura, as the kids will say now, right? About him that kind of draws you to him. Now, not to say that Rey Fenix does not have that, but he does not have as much of that as Penta does, with obviously the face paint. And Penta also has Penta Oscuro or Dark Penta in Lucha Underground, where he's, a bad guy, dresses in all black kind of thing. Those gimmicks tend to do well in terms of popularity with fans. So Rey Fenix just doesn't have that, but he'll do stuff in the ring that'll make you just lose your ever-loving mind. And not to say that Penta doesn't have that, Rey Fenix just has more of that. So there's kind of a give and a take, right? One guy probably a little bit better in ring. One guy probably a little bit better in terms of the personality and in terms of the gimmick and in terms of all that stuff, right? So they both bring something slightly different to the table. And I love that he's actually debuting as a solo act. And the reason is because as much as I love Rey Fenix, as much as I love Penta, and as much as I love the Lucha Brothers, a lot of WWE fans have no idea who the Lucha Brothers are, have no idea that Rey Fenix is Penta's brother, right, exactly. So the good thing is that what you have to do is you debut them as solo acts, you keep them separated, you make fans care about them individually. That way, when they come together in WWE to reform the Lucha Brothers, now it means something to everyone. It means something to people like me who followed their careers in CMLL and Lucha Underground and New Japan and AEW and everywhere else, and just people that were introduced to Penta on January 13th, and people who will be introduced to Phoenix on whatever, April 4th. Yeah, whatever it is, right? Yeah, April 4th. So those people like it, and now everybody else likes it too. So I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. And just be prepared to see a guy balance on the ropes like just about nobody you've ever seen. It's pretty interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've already fell in love with Penta. I like the look. His entrance is really cool. So I'm like, being able to see Phoenix come in and honestly and have some other things that can even be better than Penta. Like really looking forward to that. So can't wait to see what happens. I think it'll be very interesting where he slides in. I gotta expect he'll hopefully help bolster the mid cards scene a little bit, but
Right.
I'm not sure. Again, I mean the main event scene doesn't have that much either at outside of Drew and Drew and Damian. So I mean both mid and main title scenes could kind of use an extra person, but I'm hoping kind of that's who the next person that we're going to mention and talk about might get inserted into pretty quickly. That's Allister Black. Returning wrestler, however you want to put it. I kind of liked his image. I kind of knew about him right before he left WWE for AEW. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what what we have with him back. Kind of hoping Paul Heyman's involved with him again because I think obviously what his best work was. I know Tyler, you've mentioned that a few times on and off the pod. That was kind of the best work for Allister with that as well. So Chris, I'm gonna give it to you here again first. with Aleister Black, how excited are you to have him back in WWE?
Oh yeah, I'm thrilled. I mean, I loved Allister Black back in the day. With his work in NXT, like when I think of Allister Black in WWE, I think the first thing I think of, there's test people's memories if they remember this guy, but his feud of Velveteen Dream back in the day was such a good one. The match delivered. I know Velveteen Dream kind of, went off into the deep end, and
Yep.
that's him. But that feud undeniably was just so good. And then, just his character and who he is, I think it kind of could fill in a certain void for a lot of people, for that, like, really, I don't know the word to use, is gothic archetype here. But I loved him. I mean, I think he had great matches. His entrance music. I'm not even into that type of music. And I thought I was playing that, blasting my headphones off to it and throwing some black masses up in the air. I am very excited for it. But at the same time, I kind of look at the roster that WWE has right now. It's so stacked, and I question where he's gonna fall in all this, because he's one of those people who's insanely talented, especially in the ring. I think he's incredible. Uh, but we're in an era where everyone is just it's just on it. Even the mid card scene is just on it. So I do wonder what they're gonna do with him here, and where he's gonna go. I'm thrilled to have him back, but I'd say probably the bigger question here for me is, what now? Like, we have him, great. I'm so excited, but what's next for him? And what is he gonna do? He's gonna have a great debut, I'm sure. Black mask someone's head off. But then after that great debut happens to every wrestler, then what? And
Right.
it's either sink or swim, and I'm very curious to see what they do with them. I think there's avenues here. I'm just curious.
Yeah. What is there anybody you would like to see him in a program with first? I'll to tee off of that.
Ooh, that's a good one. Anyone first? Did they say? I completely forgot. Did they say where he's going? Is it?
SmackDown
I'm pretty sure it's SmackDown. Yeah.
to be with his wife.
Yeah. I guess. Not on the top of my mind. Now I think about it, like ooh, that's a good question. That's a very good. Yeah, I don't know. I think, like, if we're talking aesthetically here, I think there's something that can be done with, like, a Judgment Day thing, right? But, like, except for that, I can't think creatively. I'm like, there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
I mean, Aleister Black, throw him in the ring with anyone. I think he just murder. I do think he's one of the better ring performers, even today. It's just, that's a good question. Like, you stumped me there.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
you get that was not on the
Anyone.
prepared question list, so that's okay. If you think of someone after Tyler, definitely shout them out. But Tyler, I'll throw it to you here. What's your? I think I know your excitement level, but I want to hear your thoughts on this too.
Yeah, and I will do my best to keep this as brief as possible,
You're on the
because
clock.
obviously,
I'll
you
give you
guys
2
both have
minutes.
families and lives outside of here, so I won't, ruin that for everybody. Um, yeah, I mean, listen. In my life, there have not been very many superstars, wrestlers, whatever, that I have gravitated more towards and has made such an impact on my fandom like Aleister Black did. He was one of those guys that if I met somebody and that they had never seen wrestling before, I show them Aleister Black, and there's only a few guys that I could say that for, right? Like Aleister Black, Ricochet, like there's a few, right? Where you're like, you want to see what really cool wrestling, Adam Cole, you want to see what really cool wrestling's all about? Let me show you, insert name here. Aleister Black is probably number one on that list. There are people who I have lifelong memories of watching wrestling together, either on my couch or live and in person, solely because I showed them Aleister Black and they fell in love with him. So that man means a lot to me personally, and his character means a lot to me personally. And when he got released, it meant a lot to me personally because it was just one of those things where I sat there and said, how on earth, how is this how this ends? Like, he was like the guy that if I had to bet my house that one guy would be world champion from NXT, it was Allister Black. And it ended up not being that way. So this time around, obviously I'm so ecstatic that he's coming back. He never should have left in the first place. But now that he is back, I want to take your sentiments that you're saying and I want to kind of give it a different perspective. Yes, there's a lot of talent in WWE. Yes, it is a stacked roster. Yes, nothing is ever set in stone. Yes, everything could go poorly. However, when Aleister Black was in WWE the first time, when he got called up to the main roster, he had two main supporters. Paul Heyman, which you've already mentioned, Dan, and Triple H. Triple H is in charge now of everything, and Paul Heyman is on SmackDown just about every week at this point. That's the two guys that probably, other than obviously Road Dogg, who's going to be the main writer, but those are the two guys that probably have the most creative power, I guess is the only way I could put it, or influence in the entire company. Those are the two guys that if I were to want two people to root for somebody that I like to be pushed to the moon, it's those two gentlemen, right? I actually think Aleister Black, this is my bold take here, Dan, so get ready, write it down, go ahead and clip it for your preview. I believe that Aleister Black will be world champion in less than 2 years. Because, first of all, he's about to turn 40. Not a whole lot of time.
Right.
Number two, the two guys that are going to be in charge of his creative are his two biggest I'm not going to say are because you never know who's there now. Somebody might be a bigger fan than they are. Were his two biggest supporters and understood his character better than any of the other people in the company. Now they're the ones in charge. They're not going to, bring him out one week and have him kick Braun Strowman's head off and then have him be off TV for 3 months and then have him run an interference with Kevin Owens and then release him. Like, there's going to be a story here. So I think your first stop is United States Championship. And then whoever you want to have him lose to 6 months down the road, great, go ahead. Have him have the feud with whoever costs him the belt and then push him right to the moon, be your world champ at that point. Like, I don't see any reason why he can't do it. He's that good. He's that talented. And anybody who's seen him is work in the ring knows that he can go with anybody on planet Earth. There's nothing he can't do. And I'm also, and this is the last thing I say, I am a big fan of finishers that just come out of nowhere, that can be delivered on anybody, and that's impactful. And the Black Mass is, to me, a top 5 finisher ever in that regard. It's fantastic. It's just, you're done. Kick, you're done. You're out. You're toast. Dreams are over. Goodbye. Like, that's all it takes. And it's like an RKO. It's like a knockout punch. It's like whatever it is. It's the same thing. So he's gonna have that intrigue. But yeah, I'm very excited to have him back. I think he's gonna get pushed to the moon. Because I think that whatever story he's going to tell, that Triple H is going to tell with him, is going to be engaging enough that the new fans that don't know who he is are going to engage with him, and grumpy old fans like me are going to fall back in love with him again.
So, if I could piggyback off of this real quick.
Go for it.
I kind of got a bit of time to think about the question you asked me earlier about who I'd like to see him with. And I got a name in mind just because I think it matches a lot. As someone who's really into storytelling, I find myself, when it comes to wrestling, liking the matches a lot with obviously a good story. But before I get to that, I would like to say I want to see the betting odds around what Tyler's saying. With him being world champion 2 years, I need to see these betting odds because that is a very bold take. I will meet you halfway on this. I 100%, because I know you're talking about Triple H and Paul. I 100% see him being some sort of mid-card champion. I would be shocked, give it 2 years, if he doesn't win a belt to some degree. It's just what he does after that is a big thing for me. But in terms of like an actual match I like to see, it's more so because I like these type of matches, and a bit of a weird curveball here. Probably Shinsuke, honestly. Yeah, probably Shinsuke Nakamura. That hard, striking type of match. I'm always into that stuff. I'm a huge MMA fan, so whenever I see it, kind of replicate in a way that you see these real blows. That's
Right.
not, by the way, Brock versus Cain Velasquez. Not that one. As a huge MMA fan, that was the worst match I've ever seen, and they should never do that ever again. It was horrible. I love those type of matches, like Shinsuke versus Dragunov. I don't know. I love stuff like that. I love stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, when Tyler mentioned the U.S. title scene, I actually my thought immediately went to Shinsuke. I was like, those two together, because Shinsuke doesn't. I mean, Shinsuke might get one more shot or one more little multi-man match around the U.S. title, but I think that could be a good fierce feud. Good for both, honestly. I mean, we haven't seen Shinsuke for a while until recently, so. Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah, around the U.S. title, 6-7 months being the champ of that title. LA Knight's great. But I mean, he's now won it twice, and there's, to me, that's like, and Tyler, I've talked about this before. It's been so nice to see both the main world titles for the men get a pool of guys kind of built around. I feel like the one that's weak right now is the Universal Championship, honestly. But that's also in a weird direction right now with Cena being back, which we'll talk about later. But I felt like until very recently, the U.S. title was in that murky water too. Like, who really was there outside of Shinsuke? Then now that you have Solo and Fatu and Braun Strowman, that finally is getting a little more depth too. And I think Allister could fit easily right into there. And yeah, be a champion very soon. SummerSlam maybe. I think he'd be a very champion, hold that title very soon. And yeah, I feel like he'll put a good match on with anybody. On that SmackDown roster. So I can't wait to see where it goes.
If I was booking it perfectly, and when I say go to the U.S. title, I don't mean like literally like the millisecond he gets there. I would assume there's going to at least be a month or two where he's not in that, or where he's building himself up. If I was booking it perfectly, and I'm sorry to do this to your boy, Dan, but Carmelo Hayes would come out the Friday night after a WrestleMania and say, "How dare you leave me off of the WrestleMania card? I don't care who I have to fight. Bring me somebody and I'll beat the crap out of him." And then he gets his head kicked off. Like,
he seemed like a perfect honestly, for a one-off match candidate. That honestly seemed like the perfect candidate. Yeah. My boy, I know I kind of push him up a little bit, but he's also he doesn't have as many beatings and as many losses as JD McDonough. But you have to have someone on the card that can do that, but still prop himself up time after time after time. And Carmelo fits that bill. I honestly. I think that'd be perfect. Again, I think it'd be good for both. But it's so you're probably right there. we will clip this and share this after Friday if you're right.
It's either him or it's Santos Escobar. Like, to me, Santos just gets his head kicked off. Now, I will say I thought about Andrade, but then I remembered Rey Fenix, and I think Andrade is going to be Rey Fenix's first kind of foray.
Yeah,
because those two have had some banger matches in the past. So I think that's a real good. That'd be a great way to showcase.
I kind of forgot about Andrade on that card. We haven't seen him or Santos in a match for a little bit. I feel so. But yeah, sure. No, excited for both these debuts. But let's get to our main event of our picks here. We're gonna get through all 4 of our championships here. I'm leaving each question pretty open ended outside of this first one we're going to talk about. So you guys have a little room to kind of paint a picture of what you think before you give your pick. But let's start with the Women's World Championship belt that is currently, as of this recording, held by Io Sky, which was a surprise to many, but I think a good surprise. We had like back-to-back title. We've had a lot of title changes on TV lately. I think it's great, especially on SmackDown. U.S. title, tag titles, Women's World Championship. this story's a little weird. I'll kind of get into kind of my takes on it. But my two questions around this one. I think the most obvious question: do you guys believe Rhea Ripley will be added to this match? And Tyler, I'll kick you here first. Do you believe Rhea's going to be thrown into this match at some point? We still got a couple more weeks.
100%. I don't see a world where she doesn't. At this point, it would be like really weird if she didn't. Like, she's so intertwined with everything that's happening. Like, I feel like you have to. I mean, I guess the cop out could be she's the special guest referee, but I feel like that would just make it worse. Like, it would just make the whole thing way worse. Just add her to the match. Quit being weird. Like, just add her to the match. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Chris, you agree? Do you think she'll be added to the match?
Yeah, without a doubt in my mind. I think I mentioned it last week's show that we did here. About Rhea, because you got to think Rhea is definitely one of the biggest stars, regardless of gender.
Yeah,
one of the biggest stars in not even wrestling, or not even WWE, but wrestling as a whole, as an industry. So without a doubt in my mind, a healthy Rhea is making Mania. Now the question is like what you guys were saying, if she will be guest referee, any interference? No, I think like the guest referee is more likely, but she's not going to be some cameo in the match. She's going to have to be marketed because you got to think of wrestling as a business and getting people to buy, WrestleMania to get people in the seats. Rhea Ripley is a star to get butts in seats. She's got such a huge fan base. She's, dare I say, apart from like Cena and Rhodes, she's like one of the most viral stars. I've always seen her face every single time I open up, social media. It's her and Liv Morgan, like just, being these huge, huge stars for when it's wrestling in total.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, no, I 100% see it. It's now here's the funny thing. You kind of bridge on to, I'd imagine, the next question. I have no clue who's going to win it.
Yeah, go for it.
No clue at all. But I know for sure. I'm so confident that she's going to be in it.
Yeah. No, I'll keep it with you. Who's your pick to win the Women's World Championship?
I don't have one. Like,
you don't have
I
one.
could just honestly,
That's
you could
fair,
just give me,
honestly.
You could give me a top hat and I'll pull out a name. It's the only time you're going to ask me this entire show that I'm going to say I don't have one because it stumps me. I can make a really good excuse for every single one of them winning it that I think they could, the possibility, the reality. Obviously assuming that Rhea's going to be in this match because all three of them are safe bets here.
Mm-hmm.
Bianca, being a huge star in her own right, Io being a really safe big star, then Rhea just being this, this huge presence. The bigger question is you throw the belt on Rhea, then what? Just kind of the whole chase. It's like, does she even really at this point need the belt? You have this whole dynamic. So I can't really confidently say either one. Now, if you're gonna say Black Mass to my head or pick one, I think I'm leaning Io here. I think we're gonna see her retain here for sure. But I don't know for sure. Like I couldn't bet on it at all.
Tyler, come to you then. What do you are you in the same boat or do you have a pick for this one?
No, I am not in the same boat. However, I very much understand the being in that boat because this is definitely a difficult one. But in my mind, I don't believe Rhea. I think she actually has the least chance of winning if it were to be added, if she were to be added, because I find the Triple H and his way of telling stories, he doesn't strike me as the kind of booker that would take the belt off of somebody, then force them into the match via shenanigans, then have them win. That's just a bit sloppy to me. It would have just been much. He seems to me like he would have just gone the much cleaner route, which is just keep the belt on her the whole time and have her retain. Like that seems, you know what I'm saying? Like, so to me, it seems like if she won, it would be kind of odd. I could very much see Bianca winning. Maybe utilizing some more heelish tendencies, maybe kind of leaning into that to feed more into the Jade Cargill stuff. Maybe Bianca had something to do with it. Maybe she didn't. We don't know. So I could see that happening, but I think the most likely scenario is I'm going to agree with Chris. I also believe Io is going to retain here. Triple H, as we talked about quite frequently, Dan and I have, he likes to reward wrestlers who have had fantastic years at the end, of their season, right? Of obviously, WrestleMania to WrestleMania. And I could argue that outside of Liv Morgan, no woman on either brand has had a better year in terms of getting themselves to a higher level of popularity among the fans than Io Sky. And she did it with Plan B and Plan C because Asuka has been out all year.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Apologies. And Dakota Kai was out for a significant chunk of time as well, with various knee injuries and a concussion and all that stuff, right? So Io's kind of had to go with the flow,
Right.
and yet she has still gotten herself over. Why? Because she's just so darn good at wrestling. I've never actually seen somebody get over purely because they're that good in the ring. Io has done it, so
Yeah.
I'm picking Io.
Yeah, and I'm gonna stick with the theme of picking Io here. I'm picking her as well. I do agree. Rhea's gonna be added to the match. I feel like the build has been kind of bumpy in spots. It's been a little different. But I'm very much with the mantra. Tyler knows this, but Chris, I'm very much with the mantra. Let Triple H cook, let him cook, it will develop. I think back to the qualifier for Elimination Chamber where it was weird that Rhea kind of cost Io her spot at the chamber. So I kind of feel like, well, that's kind of the revenge that she got for getting the belt off of her. And I feel like the chase for Rhea over the chase of Rhea chasing Io will be compelling. My thinking is that Bianca is going to be kind of taken out of this picture. She's not really a Raw star unless they keep her on the roster. I think even though she was tag champs, I think he's technically a SmackDown star. But as we always do, those lines always get blurred this time of year anyway. Especially in the main title scene, you kind of go with the story. But I feel like Bianca's going to be moved off into the Naomi Jade, feud storyline. I think she'll be moved off that. So that's why I feel like Io's probably going to retain here as well. And just getting back to story, just those two kind of going back to Chamber. I think it's funny how like both Bianca and Rhea like will just beat up on Io all the time, but Io will still fight back. She's half the size of both of these women, but she's got that fire. My wife's actually watched Raw last couple weeks when it's been earlier in the day, and she's always been kind of watching around the time of that story on Raw. So I think she's kind of taken interest in Io a little bit too. Kind of like her chaotic nature, as she has told me.
Oh, yeah.
And it's true. And I mean, she's been a part of every War Games, NXT and main roster. She always has some high flying stunt. I think it's, I've definitely kind of gotten, try to kind of get to know that character more, and definitely want to, because she is intriguing, and it's kind of nice to see her pushing the spotlight more. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you guys. We'll do a unanimous pick for Io Sky here, winning the Women's World Championship. Let's kind of keep with the Raw titles. We'll transition to Gunther and Jay. I know we talked about them a little bit last week too, so I know we might not mention too much here. But let's officially get on the record. Who walks out of WrestleMania 41 as World Heavyweight Champion? Tyler, I'll toss to you first here.
Yeet.
I don't want it, but I have to admit it. That's where I'm at. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't think. I never thought it was the right decision. I listen. I get it. All right, I get it. It's understandable. He's very popular. He's had a great year. The story is just way too freaking like. Look at him. He sucks. How is he ever gonna beat Gunther? That I mean, if Gunther just, I mean, Jay will be fired if he loses at this point. Like, because then the story is he sucked. Oh, he sucked again. He lost. That's rough. Like, that would be the whole story. That can't be the story. That can't be your world title feud story. Like, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, would I be like the most upset? Oh, I would. I love Gunther. I love to be like, yep, great, perfect. I don't care. But I just, yeah. Jay's winning. That's just the way it's going to be.
Chris, are you picking the same here? Are you going with Jay here?
Yeet. Yeah, no, it is a J. It is a J victory. I think if you were to ask me genuinely what I think is probably the safest lock this year, I'm honestly might just say J here. I with the year he had and the success, you gotta think of wrestling as an industry, as a business, right? As well with this is, as Vince McMahon as this might sound, it just makes sense to me to have the belt on him. And then also story wise, obviously they were building up this entire thing, and I agree with Tyler. I think it's around time for Gunther to officially get yeeted, and I think he will get yeeted. And it sucks for a lot of
that hurt me to
fans.
to hear. I didn't
See,
know.
I saw Tyler's soul just leave his body right now.
Yes.
But
I could sit here and talk about this for an hour. I'm not going to keep interrupting you, Chris. I just you have no idea how much NXT UK I watched that my soul just got ripped out of my body.
Man, Walter. Well, I remember that too.
Who? No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
But nah, I see it happening. One thing, because I know I'm probably extending my 60
You're good.
seconds here, but one thing I do have to note here as a storyline, someone who's who writes and my thing, I really do not like the story here. Not because of the execution per se, but this story, and it seems like Gunther has this where it's always like he's the ring general. You can't beat him. He's, you're not good, like a Rocky story. And I'm like, well, I mean, we just had that, like, I mean, Zayn just had that. It's pretty much the same exact story, except much better. Like much
way better.
It's like comparing Rocky 1 to Rocky 5. It's
Yep.
It's terrible here, but it is what it is. It's time for him to get yeeted for sure.
None of this should be happening right now. Yeah, I know. Just keep doing it because that's the trump card, right? Is a guy who wears sunglasses and says yeet all the time and does 4 moves is gonna beat the indomitable, unbeatable. Like, if he was beating Seth, or if he was beating like just anybody else, I would not care about it this much.
Yeah.
But the fact that the short list of superstars that have beaten Gunther is now going to include Jay Bleeding Uso is going to stick in my craw for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
that's the last thing I'm going to say about it.
Yeah, honestly, bro, I think you make a really, compelling story here, but
yeet.
Do it, Tyler.
I don't like being yeeted down right now, okay? I'm being yeeted down. Not shouted down. I'm being yeeted down, and I don't like it.
Let's see a yeet.
Come on, Tyler.
I already did one.
What
yeet? You're not getting another one.
We're getting another one.
What yeet? This will be the saddest yeet we're gonna get.
Call it. Honestly, I think Tyler kind of summed up everything. That I was kind of thinking too. It's part of me wants to pick Gunther, like, because wrestler versus wrestler, it should be Gunther, and that's really hard with the story. Like, I get it. Best for business is Jay right now. He's, he got the last entrance at War Games, which I think shocked everybody. That's not talked about as a lot. But yeah, I'm going with the Yeet Master. I'm going with the Yeet Master, Jay Uso here. I at this point it's best for business. So I'm like 70% going with him. I think you could, if we knew this was gonna be a main event slot, because if we wouldn't have had Cody Cena or wasn't for the triple threat, one of the two, I think this would be a main event slot. I would go 100% Jay. But I almost feel like because this could open, maybe it won't open one of the nights. That gives me like my slight hope that Gunther could still win it here. He could retain. But then I kind of go back to what you guys were, what I think Tyler mentioned of, yeah, it'd just be weird for Gunther to beat him again. It'd be weird for Jay. So it'd be not weird for Gunther to beat him. Let me rephrase that. It'd be weird for Jay to lose after all of this, of like all this build, everything. It's, you can redeem losses at some point, but at some point when you've built him up to main event, be, a star and everything, and he sells out the crowds and, gets the hype going so much, to have him actually lose, that's like, yeah, how do you actually truly redeem that? Because, nothing's gonna hit that level of how Cody redeemed himself from between WrestleMania 33, 39 and 40. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of almost a given, I feel, with that. So, all right, let's get back to the next title, back to the women's side. We have the WWE Women's Championship. I believe I have that correctly, because they both confuse the heck out of me of keeping them straight. But we'll just say it this way. Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton coming up here in a couple weeks. Would love to get you guys' thoughts in here. So give me your thoughts, give me your pick. Chris, I'll toss it to you first on this one.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. Out of all the title matches, going into Mania, this is the one I'm easily the least excited for. I don't care. I think everyone shares the same sentiment with me on this one. So when it comes to the winner, it's like, I don't know, man. The thing is, when it comes to Charlotte, she's just a safe bet. She's just that person, that wrestler that I'm just like, even if it doesn't make sense, because if you're going to tell me I'm going to date it back a decade, maybe longer, this I kind of forgot, with Asuka versus Charlotte, I would have said Asuka. But yeah. So I think off of the principle alone, it's hard for me to bet against Charlotte unless it's undeniably a clear winner. Like, I thought going into like the match of Ronda and Becky and Charlotte at the main event, I think everyone assumed that was Becky's match. But this one in particular, making the return and all that, I think I'm gonna go Charlotte. But it's probably a part of me just not really caring. So like, I haven't been that passionate or paying that much attention to it. So unless you guys could school me on this, and apparently my pick might be completely off here, I'm just going to kind of assume Charlotte, mainly due to just kind of a lack of interest in this build, and just honestly, it's just a safe bet for me. I'm like, I'll go Charlotte, I guess.
Yeah. Tyler, are you thinking the same, or are you going opposite here?
So I am not. This is the wrestling sentiment fella, the wrestling purist at heart here. I don't disagree with any of the points that you made, Chris, at all, by the way. Just to clarify, I'm not going to, I know you said maybe guys could school me. That is not what I'm doing. I'm not going to school anybody on anything. I think you have a very high chance of being correct. So this my opinion is not even of sound mind. It is more of sound heart. I have seen Charlotte ruin many a young lady's attempt to be a main event star in WWE. Many of those women never got back to that spot. Some have not. And I just wouldn't be able to stomach Tiffany Stratton being one of the few NXT women, by the way, it turned out, in that round, to get called up, to go to SmackDown. She wins the Money in the Bank right away. She's over right away. Despite her music changing from the awesome song she had in NXT to something else, which a lot of times we're all like, oh God, oh no, bad. Right? Not with her. She was over right away. Was great Elimination Chamber. was awesome in the Money in the Bank match, won Money in the Bank, turned on Nia Jax to a huge ovation, wins the title, beats Nia Jax again, continues to look really good, just to be fed to Charlotte? This isn't an Asuka situation where Charlotte was the champion, and we're not sure if they're ready to crown Asuka as champion yet. This isn't a Rhea Ripley situation where we're not sure if we're ready to see Rhea Ripley take that next step yet or not. I was, but a lot of people weren't. This is, you have already told me and you that Tiffany Stratton is the next big thing. We've already told you that because she's won the championship. It would have made sense if Charlotte had come back and beat Nia Jax, and you have Tiffany Stratton get elevated to maybe win the belt at WrestleMania, and Charlotte maybe wins that because Tiffany's not ready yet. Okay. But Tiffany losing the belt to Charlotte, to me, I don't know if I'd be able to stomach the damage that would do to Tiffany's career right now. I think you have to put Tiffany over. I think Charlotte has to put Tiffany over because if she does, if the year that Tiffany Stratton has is MVP of Elimination Chamber, one of the most over superstars on the roster, wins Money in the Bank, wins her first championship, beats Charlotte at WrestleMania, objectively, that would be the best first year of any female in WWE history. You are telling the world that she is your next great superstar. And I don't know how old Tiffany Stratton is, but it can't be that much older than me, and I'm 27. She might be younger than me. So to me, that's the direction you should go. But Chris, unfortunately, there's a high probability you're right. Because my heart's telling me that that's the direction it needs to go, but my head's telling me you're right. Because I've seen it over and over again of just Charlotte brutally stomping out anybody that is ready to take that next step. And again, some women that have stepped up never got back to that spot.
Yeah,
And I'm worried that that'll happen to Tiffany.
Yeah, I just so I could harpoon on to this as well. I do think that obviously, I mean, it's hard to follow that up, right? You do make a very convincing argument here for Tiffany, for Tiffy time. But I think for what it is for me is just that good old Charlotte PTSD, kneeling for the
Oh,
queen.
100%.
And I think when it comes to that, it's what I am accustomed to. It's you just kind of bow to the queen and that's it. Have fun, look in the chops, I guess, because she's just gonna take it all and have at least enjoy it for how it is.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, hey, this is another one for me. We were talking about the triple threat from earlier, where it's like I kind of bounced around with it. But I'm obviously a lot more invested in this triple threat for the women's over Charlotte versus Tiffany. Because I'd argue that, her winning the Rumble, and all that, I question a lot of things in the build up here. I do think you make a good, compelling argument, but for podcast sake, for entertainment sake, I'll say that I'm going to stick with Charlotte here.
Fair enough.
That Tyler will be yeeting and bowing to the queen.
Great way to work that in. Great way to work that in. So Chris is going with Charlotte. Tyler, you said you're going for Tiffany when it comes down to it.
Yep.
Okay. I'm actually going with Tiffany too. A lot of kind of your line of thinking is like why would you have her succumb to Charlotte after the year that she has had, as over as she is? The build has been kind of like Gunther and Jay. It's been kind of, honestly, I'm just gonna say this, and it's probably won't be popular. I don't know, but the build for all these main event title bouts outside of Cody and Cena, and even that one, but outside of Cody and Cena, I haven't really cared about the build for any of these cards. I'm much more interested in the build of all these other non-title and mid-card titles versus these main event scene titles. I don't, so I'm still gonna watch the match. I'm still gonna, care for the match. It's probably my least passionate, I guess, where I still want to watch it. It's not like I'm going to skip over it or go do something while the match is going on. But yeah, I think, the pole part brawl was nice. But I wish we kind of would have gotten Charlotte back before Rumble or somehow different, to get this. The only other thing that I can't get out of my head is interference from someone. I think you almost could have to go with interference from Nia or Candice or Becky. I think to put the title on Charlotte. I think you have to go that route so you don't completely damage Tiffany. But my pick is Tiffany here. It's still her time. But yeah, so I think this is our first not unanimous picks here, which is fine. I think that's, again, I think both cases can be made because yeah, Charlotte's kind of one of those. She's inevitable. She just is inevitable. But yeah, I'm going with Tiffany. It's hard though. A part of it again hard for me is just lack of passion compared to the rest of them, and just honestly, what do you do with both after this? No matter the result, and that's almost kind of one. I wonder if we'll get interference from someone, to set this course continuing. It might not be the end here with these two. I'm possibly so. What one last title bout, probably the biggest title bout, an event that everybody expects to be the main event of night 2, encapsulate all of WrestleMania weekend. It's the battle for the Universal title between a returning heel John Cena and everybody's hero of Cody Rhodes. And these promos have been great. I love how Cena's just ripped into the crowd as he has. I do like heel Cena right now. We're not supposed to like him because he's a heel, but there's still something of, I think the biggest question, if they did this, how would they do it? Would it do well? This obviously blows the whole thing that Tyler and I put together of booking John Cena out of the water because we did not go the route of heel John Cena. So go check that out if you guys care what we would have done if Cena was still a babyface. Little plug there. But I feel it's been great way to kick off Raw. I think 30 minutes the last 3 weeks between these two, and it was great to see them just trade jabs this past Monday. I loved it. I thought it was great. It keeps ratcheting up. It's kind of like they got to do 2 more Raws before Mania. It's like how are they going to keep this going is interesting. Going to be interesting to me. But all that. So I really like this build. Chris, I'll come to you first here. Who's your pick for the Universal title here?
Adrenaline in my soul. Who's going to lose? It's going to be Cody Rhodes. I do think that Cena has got this one in the bag. Honestly, I've been seeing a lot of arguments here going into this match where a lot of people are now starting to lean Cody on it. And because of these promos, I've been seeing it a lot. And I completely feel the opposite. I think these past few shows has really worked out kind of more in John's favor here. Obviously, we're talking about, the business. I keep bringing it up. Turning Cena heel is such a big, it's about the biggest deal you could do in wrestling history. You got the streak, you got Hogan turning heel back in the day. I think you got Cena as heel. This thing is like the 3 huge moments, in my personal opinion, with wrestling history. And with Cena being heel, I don't see him, probably the wrong usage of this word, but jobbing to Rhodes here. I don't. I think it's a safe bet for Cena to win this. I think he'll be carrying this belt until probably his last one, is the last match that is. And just seeing it play out like that. I don't really see a way Cody wins this. I've been seeing all the arguments. None of it really gets me. I think I said it earlier in the show that I think Jay is the safest bet at Mania this year, but the idea that he's not going to be in the main event, so he could be a potential show opener, actually kind of lessens the favor of him winning, I'd say. because he could just open up as like a good guy, so the show can make up for it, do whatever you need. While Cena here is about maybe my second biggest lock I have this entire weekend. I think Cody had a damn good run for what he was given, especially for a face run that lasted this long. A lot of people, when it comes to face runs, they don't usually last that long. It's just for main titles anyway. It mostly is those heels. You have that chase. I think Cody did really good with his spot. But this is Cena's time. The last time is now.
Yeah. Tyler, you staying on the train with Cena here?
This was the hardest pick for me. Obviously, you see the shirt I'm wearing. You know where my loyalties lie. No pun intended there with your Mr. Hustle loyalty and respect, but I can see both sides. I can see why you'd want Cena to win, because I think logistically speaking, it probably does make the most sense. I think you probably get better stories coming out of it if Cena sticks around afterwards and does not do what he said he's going to do, which is I'm going to win this championship and then I'm going to leave and never come back. But I can also see why people pick Cody, because to me, the fact that Cena said I'm going to win this and never come back kind of, to me, gives a bit of leeway of like, well, then he's not winning because he kind of needs to come back. They kind of like announced his dates and like promised people he'd be there for a whole year. And so then if he just disappears, then the whole company's going to get yelled at like a lot. And that's not good. Like they've spent years getting more goodwill with this fan base than maybe they've ever had. And to just throw that all away just for a story is a bit silly. So I can see both sides. I think ultimately I do have to go with John because I don't know where the story goes if John doesn't win. I can see the story in all different branched timelines if he does. So if Cody wins, then did he beat Cena clean? Because if he did, then, man, Cena's going to have a lot of digging to do. If he doesn't beat him clean, then does that mean that the feud's going to keep going and then Cena wins later? And then now you've spent 6 months of the last year of John Cena's career feuding with one guy who doesn't need it. So
Just to interfere real quick, completely agree with that point. I don't think they're going to waste any time when it comes to Cena's last year. It's a huge, huge deal for once again the industry, not even just stopping at WWE here. And I don't see them prolonging this feud. I see them squeezing in as much as they could get out of Cena on this one. The only way match wise I see Cody winning this is that The Rock comes out and we're in Nevada. We're not that far away from this man right here coming out.
He's going to be around that weekend
and dropping a few stunners. But even then, like, I think this is, even if that does happen, which I question, I think this is Cena's match purely because I think it's the last time. There's a lot of marketing you could do here, and I once again do not see them prolonging a feud with Cody because it's just time wasted. Like what Tyler said, like I don't think we're gonna do this for 6 months. So yeah, that'll be it.
Yeah, and no, I'm with you both. I want to pick Cody. I do, which was not the case last year. As Tyler remembers,
you were wrong.
I will wholeheartedly admit I was wrong.
Be wrong,
and that's fine. but he was still always, this man informed me, slept okay. It's not a problem.
Yeah, see, you know what this is? That's Roman Reigns looking up at the lights at WrestleMania 40. That's what that is.
What? Okay.
Ooh.
Anyway, we're not talking about Roman. We did that last week. But
Now we're getting a yeet.
yeah.
I just got eaten right off the program. Off the podcast. I'm never allowed back. Right, I'm out of here. No, I'm kidding.
Everybody has to sign on and sign off with a yeet from going forward, or else you cannot do a podcast with you.
There's Tyler's punishment here.
But I want to pick Cody so bad, but I'm with you guys. Storylines seem to be so much more obvious by putting the title on Cena. I feel you could go, and I feel you could actually take. I mean, Cody has this whole thing of doing a trio of matches with whoever he wrestles with, right? He did it with Rollins. He did it with Brock. He's got 2 or 3 with Roman, so he's still going to get a third with him. So I don't know if we'll get. I think we'll at least get a second match between the two. I don't know if we'll get a trio. I mean, I think you could easily see a trio to where I think you got to keep this on separate lines for a little bit. Let's get Cody and Orton out there right away. That seems, if Cena wins this, it seems pretty convenient to have Backlash in St. Louis, which is Randy Orton's home. They're both being advertised on some graphics already, but regardless, I mean, I think you could use that graphic alone to argue that Cody's going to win this, because then you could go throw Orton and Cena together really quick and then go back to the chase for the belt 17. But I don't think you turn. I think in the same vein where I think a lot of pundits, podcasters, everybody was thinking, if Cena was a babyface on a WrestleMania match and he was going to be in a title match, he probably wasn't going to win that match. I think the same is true with a heel. You don't turn him heel to lose. You're going to turn him heel to get number 17, have that death grip. And to Tyler's comment of Cena saying, I'm going to take this and go home, I think he means I'm going to take this, hold on to it for the rest of my retirement tour, and then go home with this. I'm going to hold this and never give it back, and then I'm going to retire and go home. That's how I kind of interpreted that too. I think either works really. But yeah, and I mean, we got those promised dates, promised appearances, 35 to 40 appearances before all of this. And, some have talked about, we kind of should have seen the writing on the wall of Cena going this way, because, after, he wanted to win Rumble, he declared himself, he was the first one to declare, I believe, for Rumble, or it's maybe second after Punk, but I think he was one of the first, not the first. After Rumble, when he lost it, he declared right away, I'm in the chamber, which we all should have been like, that's a heel move. You don't just declare yourself for the chamber. You don't get to do that. But we're all like, oh, he's Cena. Of course he gets it. We should have seen it then and there. But I digress from that. I don't think you turn him heel to lose. If you do, then I think it's almost obvious he'd be like a Money in the Bank or King of the Ring winner. But again, Money in the Bank's not till June or July. I think maybe June. I think it's been announced, but that's still a little bit away. So you're gonna still have to fill 2 to 3 months of matches with him, which it won't be a problem. But then you have the briefcase on him, which he's gonna have to cash in pretty quickly, right? Or if you wait to the King of the Ring tournament, well, if you win that you don't get that till SummerSlam. So again, it's just like, if you're gonna do that, well, you might as well just put it on him at Mania. I feel, why prolong that stuff? So yeah, I want to pick Cody, but we'll go with one more unanimous here and pick Cena. I think it's gonna be a heck of a match. I think it's gonna be, one of the top matches of the weekend, if not the top match. It's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be great. I almost don't want interference from The Rock or Stone Cold or anybody, because then I feel like you're kind of retreading last year, and I feel like, then it's just like, are we going to get interference every single? And I think I said it, Universal title. I think it's Undisputed Championship. You guys know what I mean, but I think it's technically the Undisputed Championship now. The Universal is just in the lineage of that. But I don't. then that'd be 3 straight Manias with that title having interference deciding or being a big factor um, in the decision of that match, which it made sense for WrestleMania 39, WrestleMania 40, and while you could make it sense for this year, I feel like because it's not bloodline related, it'd be weird to do interference like a third Mania in a row. So that wow, I'd love to see Stone Cold make an appearance or somehow, or give Cena or Cody, a couple stunners or whatever. I kind of hope we don't get that interference. But yeah, it's gonna be easily a match. But Tyler, did you have any more thoughts on this match as a whole?
On this match, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be great. I obviously, like I said, I want to pick Cody as well, but I just can't do it. I think it's gonna be hard for Stone Cold to be there. From what I understand, didn't he just have like a complete knee replacement or something like that a couple months ago? Like I don't know how much he's gonna be able to do.
Yeah.
I know it's close by, and we all kind of want it, but I don't know.
He'll be around that weekend. He'll be around that weekend because of the Hall of Fame induction for him and the match between him and
Bret Hart.
Bret Hart. Yeah, thank you. That match is being for our first time moment match or something. I forget the name of the category now even. But yeah, so I think he'll be around. Again, I don't think that necessarily means he's going to do anything at Mania particularly, but I think he will be around that weekend. So,
which they stole from UFC, by the way. Yeah, UFC has been doing that in the Hall of Fame where they do matches.
Oh, okay.
I just noticed that. I'm like,
interesting.
Well, there's a TKO branding, collab now. Where
right.
I don't know if that's actually the reason, but I noticed it. I'm like, UFC's been doing that for a few years, where they throw. I mean, they do like Hall of Fame fighters, but they'll also throw in like John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson won on the Hall of Fame. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I think it's a good one to start with to do Austin versus Hart because it's such a classic. Classic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's kind of cool they're doing that. I didn't realize that was a UFC thing. So yeah, I mean, TKO probably was like, "Hey, we do this over here. We own you now too, so might as well." Which I think is cool. I hope we get a lot more collabs. Kind of going down that rabbit trail really quick. I hope we get a lot more collabs of stuff, and we're obviously seeing both superstars from each product, being shown in the audience at different events. So,
right, and also like another thing that I noticed that WWE's been doing. It's like even like the post event conference, UFC call post fight conference. I don't know what we do it at WWE. I kind of just click on it. Anyway,
I think it's just press conference, but yeah,
like they do that as well. And honestly, I like it. I think there's a lot of show aspects of part of the UFC branding that is very underutilized with sports. I think UFC does really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I like seeing stuff like that and that WWE could take, because UFC's taken stuff from WWE certain aspects of it entertainment wise. So I'm like, not to go on a UFC tangent here, my inner fight thing.
No, that's fine. It's fine, no problem.
Yeah, I like seeing stuff like that. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, I mean the product as a whole, I think is great. For WWE right now, we're definitely seeing TKO having its influence of both, and it's it's neat. It's definitely a new era, of course, the last couple of years with a lot of different changes. But I mean, it gives us a platform to do something like this. I mean, 5 years ago, nobody would have been like, we're not doing podcasts. We're not going to get millions of WWE content creators all over social media that we're going to then use in intros of Raw and SmackDown episodes because of showing the reaction stuff. So I think it's good. I think it's cool, just the era that we're in now. So, and that era is gonna get a pause, I think, in the Cody reign. I do think Cody's gonna get this title back. Again, going back to the trio of matches with Cody and Cena, or with Cody, whoever he faces, I think they'll keep them separated for a little bit, bring him back, do a second match. That's where I think you get your interference, where Cena still retains, and then either his retirement match or right before his retirement match, Cody wins it back or something. I feel. That brings us an end to our questions. So thank you both for weighing in on these matches, giving me your picks. Again, we were pretty much unanimous on everything for all these outside of Charlotte and Tiffany. All of you that are watching, appreciate just watching through. leave your comment on who you like. Leave a Yeet GIF for me or a Yeet meme for Chris and I. We want to bombard Tyler with all of these, you know. So throw them at him, tweet at him. That's really the only social media he has that he actually cares for. But all the Yeet memes for Tyler here. But again, leave your picks below for all the matches. If you guys have any thoughts on Rey Fenix, Allister Black, we'd love to hear them. But thanks again for watching. Again, Tyler, Chris, thank you so much for joining me. We have a couple more episodes of WrestleMania picks coming up in a couple weeks. We plan to hit pretty much every match on the card that we can. The goal is to get all of them, or at least majority of them that they're all announced. But having a lot of fun with these, so a couple more episodes. So come back, watch watch the rest of these. Give us a like, give the channel a subscription, or subscribe to the channel. Appreciate your time watching, and thanks again, Tyler and Chris. You all have a good one.
Yeah.